So this is the first podcast I've done solo in a while. Last couple we had Stephen Leo uh, co-hosting uh, and joining as a guest. The first time co-hosting, the last time he's been busy with some of his EMBA studies up at Taiwan University. So I thought I'd go ahead and kind of jump on here by myself, say hi, get you caught up a little bit on what has been going on in my life. Um, if you don't recall, I'm based here in Taiwan, and overall, Taiwan has been very minorly COVID impacted, I guess you could say. Life has been pretty normal here. I was just reading an article today that about 260,000 Taiwanese citizens or Taiwanese born people, a lot of them having foreign passports like maybe US and Canada, uh, temporarily repatriated here basically to avoid the impact of COVID, either in the US or Canada. And kind of a remarkable number, but it was really a big boost to the economy because many of them being back here, wanting to kind of maintain a similar lifestyle or kind of make up for what they were missing kind of under lockdown back in the States or Canada. We're going out to eat and even going to fancy restaurants and stuff. So some of them still here working remotely. Matter of fact, I have a friend that's a lawyer, and she's been working from here remotely for her U.S. law firm. And she was saying that she's going to stay here at least through August. So kind of interesting what's been going on there. I mean, I'm encouraged and hopeful that things are turning around in the States and elsewhere. I know there's kind of conflicting reports. On the one hand, you get some encouraging news with all the vaccines being administered and whatnot, and President Biden really cranking up the efforts to get people vaccinated and more quickly and more easily. So that's all good. But at the same time, obviously, some numbers. All I could tell you from experience is, if you've got to make an error, it's better to err on the side of caution. And what I basically mean is, if it's a matter of wearing a mask or maintaining social distance, even if you've had the vaccine or whatever, then do so. And I'd have to say that the consensus here is, I'd say most people are generally very cooperative that way and just kind of inclined. You go out, you're in a crowded space, crowded public place, even if it's open air, wear a mask. If you're in a bus station or on any kind of public transit, definitely wear a mask. Stuff like that. The vaccine here in Taiwan, it's just gotten here not too long ago, so it's not very widespread yet. But I know some of my family and friends back in the States have already been vaccinated and whatnot, so I know they have more peace of mind about that. So that's good. So basically, wasn't planning on doing a COVID vaccine show today per se. Actually, a lot of things I've been focused on lately through some of my long-term / towards retirement investments in the stock market, looking at a lot of technology related things. If you follow the stock market at all, it's been pretty volatile for a variety of reasons. I think there's a lot of fear about long-term interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not an economist. I'm not a paid investment specialist, although I used to be. I used to have a securities license. I was a financial planner way back when. And so I do have a basic understanding. And, just on the whole subject, I know there's a lot of guys on YouTube that talk about stocks and tout the stocks that they're into and whatnot. And that's all fine and good. It's like anything. Everyone's got an opinion. I try to find people that are actually doing some research or people that have some experience, and they don't have to be experts, and they don't have to be, older or my age or older, or, having done this for a long time, because intelligent people and good research is good research. So like anything, I think the key is, on the internet, there's no shortage of information. It's just a matter of that you need to filter it. I mean, you need to process it and filter it. And what that means is a lot of times you get good information, and within the good information, there's some bad information, just like gold. You get some gold, within the gold, there's some dross, and you have to kind of refine it. And the same thing with information. So you might have someone that's a reliable source and sharing, what they mean to be good and helpful information, what they think is right, but you have to decide, is it right for you, and do you agree? And that's really, that's what it really comes down to. So, I have a few sources like that, both with mainstream media and new media, and that's been kind of helpful. And I'm mostly invested in ETFs. So those are exchange traded funds. For those of you that don't know, it seems that they're very popular now and have been for a while, especially for younger people, retail investors. And the reason I like those is they're basically kind of diversified within one fund, kind of spreading the risk, so to speak. So if you don't know what it is, if you have any idea of, or what a mutual fund is, it's a similar strategy and concept, although the management and the fees are a little bit different. Generally, ETFs tend to be much more inexpensive in terms of management fee. So investments via the internet have become less expensive overall than when they started out. And so, usually the ETFs kind of fall into two categories, either what they call an index fund, which, for example, like I have an S&P 500 fund. And what that fund will basically do is they will go ahead and mirror, they will buy all the S&P, the Standard & Poor top 500 corporate stocks. And so, there's even a fund that's basically like the whole market. And they'll basically, buy proportional shares of the entire stock market. And historically, these index funds have performed well over the long time. I mean, they do go up and down, of course. There is volatility, but generally speaking, they always, over the long term, they tend to make money, and they tend to outpace people that are doing buying and selling of individual stocks. And so I should emphasize, I'm not like a trader. I'm not a day trader. I'm not playing the short-term game of kind of, pumping and dumping, buying something that I think is hot today and then selling it in 2 days. But I'm more in it for the long haul. So it's kind of a different strategy, but you need to decide what's right for you. And a lot of people say that if you do invest like in the market, or, basically do it with money that you can afford to lose. Nobody likes to lose. I mean, I don't like to lose, even a penny. I mean, just the concept of losing is not part. I mean, everyone likes to win. That's just human nature. However, when you invest, any kind of investment, you need to be able to tolerate some risk. So you need to decide what is your level of risk that you're comfortable with and that you can tolerate. And it's been a growing and learning experience for me, especially over these this last month or so. It's been, fairly volatile. And so it's been a learning experience. And believe me, I don't like to see my portfolio going down, or even, one of my holdings going down, but it's inevitable. I mean, everyone likes when they go up, and you get all excited. And when you see them going down, it's like, hey, what happened? What did I do wrong, or what's going on? But that's just the nature of the beast. And there's a lot of different factors in the market. And some simple ones are simply that, when people are buying in the name or the company or the stock that you hold, basically that stock is going to be going up. And when people are selling, the value of that stock or the price of that stock is going down. Now, something that is important to know, that the price of the stock and the value of the company that you're investing in are related, but they're not the same. So, stocks, like anything, can be hyped, they can be underhyped, they can be, value traps where there's a lot of, there's a lot of value in there that it's just not getting noticed. And so you can, go in there and get some good deals. In some cases, it's being oversold because of maybe Wall Street Bets or Reddit, or or some guy like Kramer or somebody on the net that's pumping them and getting attention. Actually, some of the funds that I do invest in, like the ARK funds, Kathy Wood, the CEO and the CIO of the company, who's a very, in my opinion, a very brilliant woman, but very educated, and I mean practically a lot of good experience and knowledge. And I just like her mindset, and she tends to be very aggressive and forward thinking. She likes disruptive technologies, and in a lot of cases, I really agree with her logic. I've learned a lot from her. Like anyone, I don't agree 100% with all of her decisions, but I think her numbers indicate clearly that she knows what she's doing, and she's made some spectacular gains. And so she's kind of like, the superstar of the moment. And I'm not saying that she's like a flash in the pan and she'll be here today and gone tomorrow. I don't think that by any means. But I'm just saying that, like anyone, people, tend to come and go. And I mean, those are just personalities, but I'm pretty sure I could see that she's got a good crew, and she's raising some good people around her, and mentoring some good people around her, and getting help from some good people around her. So it's been a very interesting time seeing the kind of investments that she's making, and also learning about buying in the dip if you could afford to do that, which simply means that if the stocks that you have a position in, or even new ones that you don't have a position in, are going down, and you believe in them based on having done some research about them, thinking they're sound companies for whatever reason, the type of product that they do, or maybe it's a type of industry, or that's related to a cause, a social cause that you have, or an environmental concern. Like I happen to have a number of holdings that would be, you could consider clean energy or renewable energy. And I think that includes Tesla, without a doubt. I mean, a lot of people, that don't know much about Tesla, they just relate to it as, an electric vehicle company, which of course, that's a big part of what they do. But they're also primarily, the whole spirit behind the company, and by Elon Musk's involvement, it is basically clean energy, renewable energy, wanting to, turn around the whole green, get a handle on the greenhouse emissions and whatnot. And so there's so many things that they're involved in, like power management within the house. They have a Powerwall product. They have a Power Roof product for solar energy collection, which then goes through the Powerwall for management, if you have both of them working, even providing power for the grids of local electric grid networks, and as well as national ones, and developing their own battery technology, and developing their own software controls for the cars, and very future oriented in their thinking, and basically kind of rewriting the whole book on developing a company, and basically, for lack of a better term, just kind of creating the future today, or working on it. So that's been a good learning experience for me. And so a lot of these, I should mention that, through my ARK investment, I have indirect investment in Tesla. So what that means is I don't own individual shares of Tesla, but I invest in an ARK fund that does own shares of Tesla. I invest in a couple of other funds that also have shares in Tesla, and I feel good about that. And I think it's a good thing to try to leave this planet in better shape than when it was when I started out. And I think clearly renewable energy and clean energy is a vital part of doing that. And so yeah, The only thing with a lot of these tech stocks or growth stocks is they tend to be more volatile. And so when there's people in the market or algorithms that are just set, if this happens, then sell this. Generally, I think as soon as there's like skittishness or like a nervous or some fear in the market, the first thing is like sell out of the tech stocks, sell out of Tesla, sell out of all the the growth stocks, and get money out of there. And so of course they all start to drop, and often they'll take that some of that money and put it in more conservative investments, or what they call more value investments, or more traditional investments. I like what Jim Cramer calls them. What does he say? Basically, the banks and the smokestacks, meaning, just bank type stocks, or just old factory based companies. Okay. And actually, back when I was in the business, we called those the widows and orphan stocks, meaning they're pretty safe. They're not going to make you big money, but you probably also won't lose big money, and just less volatile, less risk. And anyhow, so yeah, I've been doing that, and the thing I like about it is that there's a lot of information. I get to do some research, learn about some really good products and people and industries, and both try to help my family through some investments if I make good ones, but also to try to help society some by investing in things that will produce good and beneficial products and services for society. So that's something I feel pretty good about. Stephen, who has been on, he has a lot of similar interest in renewable energy and electric vehicles, and we'll be talking about more of that going forward. I've had some recent contact with one of the major players on the production side of electric vehicle, I should say on the engineering side. And we were talking about some things, and he indicated to me that he'd be open to the idea of coming on the podcast in the future. So when it's close to happening, I'll make the announcement. I don't want to, just go out there and name drop now, because we haven't taken it to the next step yet. But I'll keep you updated. One technology that I'm investing in now that I'm very excited about, because it's kind of relevant to a lot of the work that I've done here in manufacturing in Taiwan, is industrial 3D printers. Now, I know a lot of people probably know about 3D printers and what they are, but most of what you probably know are like the small scale ones, and they're kind of slow, and they're cool. And a lot of people are telling them, oh, everybody and their uncle will have one. They'll have one on their desk, and when you need like you'll make your own chess set, or you want to make a fancy toothbrush, and yeah, you can do that. But I think people realize, well, do I really need to spend money on a machine to make a fancy toothbrush? How about I just go and buy a nice one when I need it, and that's good enough? And so that consumer market never really took off like a lot of people were projecting. However, I could tell you from working in the manufacturing sector, having industrial grade 3D printers that can print in metal, and also composite fiber like carbon fiber, fiberglass, as well as good production strength plastic components, that's really exciting to me. And I'm actually exploring some other opportunities in that sector. So basically, that category even has a really cool name that it kind of took me a while to get my head around, because it's basically a new take on an industry. And so what I mean is, so it's called additive material machinery, or additive material processing or manufacturing. And so what that basically means is, for example, if you want to machine something like CNC lathing or CNC milling, or that kind of metalworking, basically you're taking a round bar of material or a block of material and using cutting tools that are computer guided and controlled, and they're basically going to be removing material. So it takes a lot of time. There's wear and tear on the cutting tools, and then there's a lot of setup time, and you need fixtures and jigs to hold the material in place, and then probably need to turn it over. So it's fairly labor intensive, and the machine tools are expensive, and you need trained technicians doing that. And it's still useful. I mean, there's still a big demand for that kind of processing. However, if you need to do a prototype or just a few samples, or even a small production run, it's very cost ineffective. So in other words, it's just going to be very expensive, almost prohibitive. And basically shops that do that, unless they specialize in that kind of work, because they get enough of it, to make it cost effective. I could tell you here, like a lot of the manufacturers that I work with, if you talk to them about a short run or a prototype or samples, they just kind of grimace, because even if they charge you the higher rate for doing that, they still view it as a loss, because the downtime on the machine, the time that you put into doing it on the machine, you could be doing, production work the same time for more money. And so it's basically, they just look at that as a overall negative. So I'm excited about this technology, because you can basically program the machine. And there's another thing too. When you're doing cutting or removing material through processing, like I just talked about, CNC or milling or lathing, you're basically restricted to what the size of the material was to begin with, and having to remove from that to make your finished part. So you're going to design within the restrictions of the material. However, if you're doing additive material through this 3D printer, you can get very, very geometric, and you can kind of, you can just design that material to just flow in ways that you wouldn't normally, because you couldn't produce it. And now, in fact, not only can you do it cost effectively in a smaller run or even as a prototype, you can actually do geometric shapes that you couldn't achieve either through removing material through machining, or even through molding, because even again with a mold, you're limited to the geometry you could have in the mold, and also with the mold you have to be able to open it. So when you open a mold tool, if you have a part that's in there, obviously the part can't be bigger than the mold, and for that matter, you need to design in a certain amount of slope in the mold, so you can't open the mold and get the part out of there, so the part doesn't catch up in the mold. Now with 3D printing, you can get a lot more creative, a lot more geometric with that design. And so what that entails is basically you can get greater mechanical strength in the part, and lower part rate, lower material usage, and things like that. So that's something that's really exciting, and I look to learn more about and share more about in the future. So I think for today, I think we'll go ahead and just kind of stick with those things. Other than that, yeah, just kind of waiting to see what's going on in the States with some of this new infrastructure program that President Biden wants to get going. I think it's a great time for that. One of my favorite periods in history, obviously I didn't live through it, but reading about Roosevelt and some of the programs they had, and I'm sure at the time, people were kind of, oh man, that's you're going to be spending that kind of money, but you could see, I think, one of the purposes we've forgotten about is that, governments, if they're being constructive and really doing one of the good things that they can do, is help jumpstart the economy. I think in terms of the pandemic and the impact that it's had on so many people that have been kind of like put on hold, if you will, that's great timing on that. And I think the net result is there's going to be a major boost to the economy, and not just for people in the workplace now, but even for the next generation, for younger people in school. And I think there's just enormous potential to create a lot of new jobs. One of the things that with new technology, people are often, they get scared. So, well, all these machines and AI and computers are going to take away all the jobs. Well, in fact, they are going to take away some of them, but they're also going to create a lot of new ones. And inevitably, you can never remove people from the mix. I mean, you need people to maintain the machines and program the machines and design the machines, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a matter, jobs will be redistributed. And I think a key thing that needs to happen and is starting to happen is that education needs to take on a much more practical um, form and figure. And I think that's starting to happen. I think, as a matter of fact, I think Google is starting to ramp up education that is more practical in orientation, and they will provide certification. And I think it's going to be much more cost effective. I think if you look at the traditional education system that we have and where it's gone, it's just gotten so expensive, and so many people are getting degrees. And unless for the most part, unless you're like in one of the top schools, and graduate high in your class, you're not going to walk out into some fantastic job. You're just going to be another person in the marketplace and competing for a job. And that's, and with the level of college debt that so many young people are getting into, so many of them, they're being taxed into way into their almost into middle age by the time they get caught up on college loans. And so that being said as well, a lot of them, there's a lot of companies that are looking for people, but they're finding that people don't have the skill sets that they need. So I think this is something that is and will be addressed in that retooling of the education system. So that's something that's really exciting to me. And I think, we'll see more and more of that happening as we go forward. So I think for today, we'll just kind of talk about this. And I just want to say hi and kind of get back in touch. It's been a couple of weeks, and hopefully I'll get Stephen back on here pretty soon. So this is Mark, your A Connector from Taichung, Taiwan, saying peace. 再见. See you on the flip. Bye now.